What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the North Leeds Jitz podcast, episode 131. The 131. This time, intimate. Me and Professor Mike.
Old school.
I was, last time we were talking about Facebook memories and did like one of the first podcasts. It came up, that first video you did of like in that room, like spinning around loads.
Oh yeah. Absolutely dreadful.
Yeah, it was funny because you see like how bare bones it was compared to like how it is now.
Yeah, I was chatting to Ben Bond. He was there last time, wasn't he, on the podcast with us? And when he first started, when we first opened, the back room, the back mat didn't exist. It was like there was a double wooden door, and if you went in there, it was a building site for quite a long time. Same with the Reorg room as well. So yeah, we were just chatting just off air actually before we started this that we would like to improve the reception area. If anyone's got any ideas or anything you've seen that you like or you think we could improve in the facility, do let us know. But I think our priority really is to try and make the entrance world class, right? We've got to improve that. So we're going to do that at some point in the near future.
Yeah, it's funny because I messaged you the other day of like, should do a video of just like some of the cool stuff we've got at the academy. And I was thinking about putting stuff like the cinema screen and then the library. We've got like the Iron Neck in the gym and
where's that come from, by the way?
Tom Patterson got the hook up and gave it to us. Yeah.
Oh, that's very cool. Thanks, Tom.
Sauna and the ice bath and the axe table with the family Bates motto. So it's like all these cool little bits that have a little story, and you don't find that in the other really jiu-jitsu academies.
It's very, very different, right? Yeah. Like we always say, I feel like a bit of a broken record. Excuse me, but I think the issue we've got, as we've always said, is that the students who train with us, most of them are new to jiu-jitsu, so they've never seen another academy. And I imagine most of them think this is normal. This is not normal. If you go to, even in our city, most of the academies are in industrial units, they're cold in the winter, they're not very comfortable in the summer, the schedule's dreadful, there's a tiny little room to get changed in, probably no showers. Like, it's completely different here. And I'm really proud of that, man. But I still think there's things we can do. I think, as I say, reception, as you walk in, I want that to be wow, and it's not at the minute, so we're going to improve that. You'll have noticed this week, as an addition, we've fitted a new, bigger screen into the cafe area, and that now has a live feed running from both mats. So before it was just the back mat, now it's both mats. So if you're a parent listening to this and you like to watch your child train jiu-jitsu, we're encouraging you to just take one step back. So still watch on that side if you want, of course, one parent per child, but what we're finding is that the children who are allowed just to immerse themselves in the activity and not be worried about what mum and dad thinks, they just get on better. And so you'll be able to watch your child training now in the back room. And that's pretty cool, isn't it?
Yeah, on that, we had the first parents and kids study hall on Saturday.
Oh, how'd it go?
Went really well, and I was speaking to Danny this morning, and he was saying Oscar Riley had a little round with Cooper Williams, Chris Williams, his boy, and Oscar, to make it a bit fair, Oscar put one hand in his belt behind his back, and Cooper was saying it was his most fun round he's ever had. So it was nice that those kids of like the different age groups could share a bit of jiu-jitsu together, and also the dads can share, parents can share jiu-jitsu together, and they get to spend it with their kids. So again, if you are a parent that has a kid here, come down Saturday morning for study hall. It's a fun one, and you can share some mat time with your boy or girl. The
adult needs to be a member too, right?
Yeah.
So they've got to know jiu-jitsu. It's not like you've just been watching for 6 months and then you can.
Yeah, it's not like maybe we'll eventually put a parent-to-kids class on where you can come in and you're new to jiu-jitsu and your kid might be new to jiu-jitsu. We'll do some stuff together. But it's usual study hall rules apply. So you got to be at least 3-stripe white belt.
And that's for safety, right?
Yeah.
Because it's an unsupervised session, so you're responsible for the safety and well-being of your child and all the other children in there and yourself. So we just need to make sure there is a little bit of experience in the room. But there's lots of blue belts there, right? If Dan Ali's there.
Yeah, Dan, Chris, Rockgen was there.
They're all blue belts.
Yeah. So maybe a good point to say that, if you are a parent listening and you're interested, well, I'm pretty sure you're interested in starting jiu-jitsu if you listen to this podcast and haven't started training yet. But it's a great time to maybe think about joining. We're going to have some really good incentives for new adult members coming up shortly. You can talk about, but it's also with that parent-kid study hall like a great opportunity for you to jump in, set a really good example, be a good role model, and really understand what it is your kid is going through, because I always think there's so many times a kid is going to come to their parents and say, I don't want to do jiu-jitsu anymore, it's too, or like,
It's a hard thing to do. Yeah, that's the thing, right?
Even for the adults, right? They're going to go through the ups and downs. You can feel low, and I think if you're not in jiu-jitsu, you don't really understand like what it is they're going through. Because it's tough, not just physically. It's like tough emotionally and mentally, and same for adults and kids. And it's just like the obvious like cliche example is of the parent that's coaching from the sidelines, being like, just stand up. And it's like, or you're like, why do you come on? I'm out here and you just stand up. Luckily, we don't have any of that here, but you'll really get a much deeper understanding and get like a really strong relationship, I think, with your kid if you jump in and do it together.
Yeah, just sharing that kind of tactile space, really. Like, kids love wrestling, don't they? You know what I mean? Both boys and girls, they love just rolling around as young kids. So to do that with your parents is really important. I did it with Gabriel, and it's good fun. But on the point about the incentive for adults joining, so that's probably a point just to note. Most of our kids classes are full, and there's a real balance we're trying to strike here and we're bringing more coaches in. We can talk about that in a minute. Excuse me, but we don't want to oversaturate the kids' classes, because I think there'll be a tipping point where it'll get too busy and we'll start to lose that experience. So you need to just be mindful of that. So what we're doing is prioritising over the next few months adult members. We never have a full class. I can't remember the last time. Monday's one of the busiest days. We have maybe like 28 on the first mat, maybe some in the back, 6, 7, 8. It's never 40 people on the mat. So we've got room to grow there, right? And we want to grow that out. So to Coach T's point, if you are a parent watching, or maybe you're a member who's got a mate who keeps asking about it, the offer's going to be out probably next week.
Yeah, I can tell you, I mean, this won't go out till Friday, so I can definitely tell you guys about it now. It'll be, basically, if you sign up now, you can get the rest of the year for free. You just need to pay your January in advance, and you also get a free uniform. So you're saving like 360 quid, something like that, maybe about 400 quid, depending on when you join.
Yeah, the sooner you join, obviously, the better value it is, right? So if you join now, you're basically getting 2 months for free.
Yeah.
Which is phenomenal. It's the biggest offer we've ran, apart from the referral last year. We offered a free membership. It's one of the biggest offers we've ran. So we're really pushing hard to try and, again, just find those people who are on the fence. Because there's quite a lot of people, I imagine, looking at what we're doing and going, oh, and there's always a reason why you shouldn't start. Oh, I need to get fitter. I need to lose a bit of weight. Oh, I don't know anyone down there. Oh, I already do 5-a-side on a third. There's always reasons, right?
Yeah.
So hopefully I can't afford it. Hopefully this is the reason that allows people to take that next step.
The biggest thing on that, I think, is always like, anytime I speak to someone about people joining, so I was like, I've been thinking about doing this for ages, or like saw you guys in 2021, or like, and I've just got around to coming. It's like they just needed a little bit more of a push, or a bit of an extra reason, or dispel a bit of fear. Or
what are your reasons for training hard at the minute? What are you focusing on? What's your kind of
change? I was saying to Ben the other day, I've floated around a few things. I think in general I'm working a lot guard passing and leg locks. So like me and Sam have been doing a lot of study halls of like leg lock escapes essentially. But I really want to develop that aspect of my game. And guard passing is it's quite fun doing guard passing. I think it's a bit more fun to learn passing than it is retention. Because I was doing retention for a little while, and retention gets a bit muddy. But reasons for training hard, just like I guess if talking kind of, it almost comes from a bit of an insecurity that I feel like I should. And it's one of those things where if I was talking to me, I'd give myself the other advice, but because it's yourself, it's hard. I always feel like an insecurity that I should be better than where I am, kind of thing. Which I know is like nonsense, because you shouldn't be. There's no expectations for you to really be anywhere, but like
where you are is where you should be.
Yeah. Lifelong journey. There's no real shortcuts to get anywhere. So just wanting to like improve my game, really, just like be better at jiu-jitsu. Yeah.
It's worth having a focus, isn't it? Even I suppose the reason I asked is, even it's important to have a focus when you're learning jiu-jitsu and you're new to it. because without that, it can be a bit overwhelming. There's lots of information. But that pursuit of mastery and that pursuit of just getting slightly better than you were before should never end. And that's one thing that Jiu-Jitsu will offer you. If you are thinking about joining, or you've just started, or maybe you're stuck in your blue belt rut, or whatever it is, because that will happen, it will give you a consistent and constant mechanism to self-improve. And that's brilliant. And that lasts for years, decades, the rest of your life if you want. There's always something you can do better. I'm finding there's things that I'm doing now which I didn't do last year. There's things that are cleaner for me, that are more efficient, that weren't last year. And then there's still things like last night we had a roll, and people are creating new problems for me that I don't know the answer to yet. So that's phenomenal, isn't it? That's what we want.
Yeah, it's like I mean, you can just see it anytime you're training with someone that's like better than you, like and especially when they're significantly better. Like if you go to like train with Victor or something, it's just like I don't even know what jiu-jitsu is anymore. Like, so you just see like this, and I'm sure there's someone out in the world that gives him like a similar kind of a feeling. Maybe if he's rolling with Browley or Hodger or Gordon or someone, like. So yeah, there's just so much depth, and that's what I think one of the most addicting things about jiu-jitsu is, especially at first. I think because I always explain being a white belt is like you're in an arms race. It's like who can just collect as much knowledge earlier, and that's why that's why people go into the YouTube rabbit holes, because if you just like any one bit of information is way more information. Like if you know 0, then knowing 1 is now infinitely more than what you just knew. So. So I just like collecting stuff, and then I was talking to Ben. Obviously, me and Ben are living together now, so we're talking a lot.
Oh yeah,
yeah. So Ben's moved in, and he was saying how he feels like his progression's slow, and I'm like, that's completely normal, because when you don't know much, like every new bit of information is like this, and now it's almost like a refinement process. Like you got the things that you like, and you have to refine them down a bit. But that's the addictive thing on jiu-jitsu, I think, just constantly learning new skills or refining skills, getting better. Yeah,
and I mean Ben's just kind of become one of the first new intake into our new coaches pathway as well. So that's another way to develop. It's not just about you being able to do jiu-jitsu. Can you articulate it to somebody else? Can you upskill them? Can you develop them? Can you add value to their life and their journey through your own knowledge? That's, again, a wonderful opportunity that people tend not to have in many other pursuits. So that's great. And so Ben and a number of others, in fact, we just signed all of our coaches. So regardless of the belt level of the coaches, every single one of us, from me all the way down to the newest blue belt coach, all have to obviously have a DBS check to work with the children, but they also need to undergo the ICP, the instructor certification process, through Gracie Barra, which is a global course. It's not cheap. I think we've spent about 1,500 quid on courses this week just for our coaches. But what it does is it gives a really solid foundation for all those coaches and enables us to offer in every class, regardless of who's teaching, a similar experience. Now, those coaches, of course, will not have the experience or the knowledge that myself or Coach T or someone else might have who's been coaching for a long time and training jiu-jitsu for a long time. But they will have absolutely all of the same information that we have in terms of what the curriculum is, how we teach, the structure of the lesson. And so, if you're perhaps you can only come to morning classes and the majority of your coaches are blue belts, don't worry about that. There's still loads you can do to develop in those classes. In fact, Ben comes to most of those classes and he's one of our most advanced students. So it's exciting, man.
It's good. I was speaking to Danny again this morning about how he's oftentimes used as the UK, and he's oftentimes paired up with like the new trial student. And I was like, there's pros and cons to that, because sometimes you just want to train with your mates, and that's fun. But also when you do get paired with a new student, you almost get to be like a mini coach in a way, because you got to like explain to them what's going on to a certain degree, and you also get to see what it's like, which you've forgotten, which is like what it's like to be a day one student, nervous, what's the mount?
Can't move.
Yeah. so you get to do like a little mini version of coaching just when you're a bit more experienced, and then that's like the next step. Now you can get your ICP done, and it's a good course, the ICP. I always say, like, I always give it, like, on the feedback form, I always give, like, some negative feedback in terms of, like, you know, I wish there was, like, an audio version because, like, with my dyslexia, I really struggle to read through big bodies of text like that. And things like, I wish it was, like, more of the videos were, there was, like, a couple of years ago, they've since fixed it, like, pretty much all the videos were in Portuguese, so it's, like, maybe do a Portuguese one and an English one. But the actual course itself, I always think is very like leading and very interesting topics. You know, the ethics stuff they added last year or the year before was like top notch. I'm really interested to see the safety stuff they're putting on this year. The experience stuff, you know, the more I learn about coaching, I'm always thinking about, saying again to Danny, like class engagement, like how long is someone waiting before they actually do something or interacting, or how long are they just sat there doing nothing, you know, and then how like actually engaged are they when they actually are doing things, because, you know, you can all just like float through a class just waiting for that live training, waiting for the spar and the fun bits kind of thing. But, you know, as a coach, you got to make the bits that they might not see as the fun bits as the really enjoyable and interesting things. So they talk a lot about that experience in the ICP. So it's long. It's not an easy course to do. It
lasts for about 4 months, right? 5 months, like.
Yeah. They break it down into sections, which I think is a good idea, because if they released it all in one, people.
Well, they used to.
Yeah.
ICP 2021 was like you were sat at your laptop for a week.
Yeah. So yeah, lots of learning going on, which is awesome.
Yeah. On that point there, so maybe you've been training for a while now. When we pair people up in class, we've spoken about how we try and do that as coaches, trying to match. Excuse me, I'm still recovering from this blooming COVID malarkey. As we try and match experience to inexperience and size, and we try and get that kind of somewhere in the middle. You're going to find that you're going to be with newer students, and that can be at times frustrating. I've been there. You come in, you really want to drill some stuff, you really want to get better, and if you're doing it with someone who's equal or more experienced than you, you're going to have a really nice experience. If you have to really slow down your game and help someone else, it can feel frustrating. What I would say is you got to remember that you were that white belt once, so you're paying it back. And if you want to just train with your mates, just come to live training. Like, come to live training, you can roll with whatever you want, right?
Or if you come to GB2 or GB3.
Or GB2 or GB3, so everyone's at a certain level, yeah. So it's part of the journey, really. And if you embrace it, and if you see it as about, this is my chance to help someone else, then that's quite a wonderful thing as well.
Absolutely, that's part of your development too. Jiu-jitsu isn't all just about being a badass and fucking tapping everyone out, is it? It's about becoming a better person. So that's a big aspect of it too. Here's something that interesting that happened at the academy. I was thinking just before we started, because we were doing the guidebook the other day, and we made a little group decision which was a kind of an unspoken rule, but then it kind of happened a couple times where it got broken, where guys would show up in just compression pants for the no-gi. I was like, no. So we should just probably make that clear, right? So then the other day, Tom Broughton rocked up post-competition, where I think he probably saw Haas, one of the guys at GB Bradford, and training in mixed rig. So like he had a black gi top and white gi pants. Then Tom came in the other day with a blue gi top and white gi pants, the other way around. And he was like, "Look at this!" He like thinking like nothing was wrong. I was like, "Ha!" He's like, "That's funny." And he's like, "No, yeah, I'm gonna try." Like didn't like on like just totally innocent. Like just didn't understand. And then I was like, look at this guy, because for me that's like the craziest like thing, but for him in his head he's like, really? Like,
it was quite a cool look. For someone like Tom, like he can pull it off. Like it looks good.
Yeah.
You see like a lot of Americans train like that. The Sambo guys have shorts and blooming gi top on. If you're that kind of, if you've got that cut of your jib like Tom has, then he pulls it off really well. Mm-hmm. You and I had looked like we'd kind of like just wandered straight through the laundry basket and wandered out.
Mine would be all creased, really, let's be honest. So yeah, I think maybe it's good to just explain that. Like, I think especially coming from that kind of, especially me in the military training thing, where it's like doubled down on, but like those military backgrounds where you don't like split your military rig with like your civilian rig, and we call it split rig, and it's like I'm not really sure why in martial arts we do it, but I think it probably comes down to like you got to look the part, and I think a lot of people
discipline.
just yeah,
there's a discipline to turning up with a freshly laundered gi every time that doesn't stink and isn't yellow when it should be white and isn't one colour. There's a discipline to getting that right.
Same way we don't wear like rainbow coloured gis or like random. It's like blue or white. You keep it simple, you know.
And it takes away. It puts the focus back on the jiu-jitsu again, right? Like if everyone was in different gis, there is a distracting element to that. Oh man, where'd you get your show-your-old gi from? Oh, the camo gi. Whoa. Like, we don't need to talk about that. Let's just talk about the jiu-jitsu. But I think, I was just saying there, we used to have an image there. I don't know where it is. We need to get Kev to find it. Kev, if you're listening, can you find it, please? It's the ethics, the code of ethics for Gracie Barra that we have just by the entrance to the mat area. And it's really important that as students you read that and so we're signposting you to it now, and you follow those rules. Okay, we don't put a lot of rules on in this academy, but there are certain things that we absolutely adhere to. Uniform is one of them, and we want that because we want unity, we want equality, we want it to be an egalitarian kind of meritocracy where, you know, the more you put into your own jiu-jitsu, the better you become, not just money. But it's little things like turning up on time, right? And when you turn up late, you may be stuck in traffic, whatever, you don't just run onto the mat when the instructor's giving the opening message. You wait at the side of the mat with your card and you're invited on. And it's little bits of discipline like that make all the difference. And we've got to remember, like last night in comp team, I was reminding our students, like, don't lean on the wall. You know, that's not discipline. That's not a martial artist. You don't slump on the wall. You stand straight and you stand tall and you look like you're ready to go. It's those little things that you might think is a bit of a pain in the arse. But when you add it all up, it's like making your bed in the morning, isn't it? It's the little basic things, but it just starts your day off right.
It's the same problem jiu-jitsu has everywhere. It's like the bleed between martial art and a sport and a service and a kind of, it's like a service provider. And, you know, some like a group of people that are doing something that's kind of traditionally quite rigid and disciplined in a modern era where everything is like, do your own thing. Yeah, everyone's got like their own freedom kind of thing, right? And I remember like, I think we used to be a lot stricter, but then the culture almost like took care of itself quite a lot. And then, you know, the more experienced students would, because, you know, it used to be like, people just kick the sliders off wherever and like...
Oh yeah, when we first started, we were constantly telling people to sort this shit out.
And then it was like, you know, I had to tell people at the start, like, I remember like all my end of class messages were like, this isn't anytime fitness, right? If you want to like fuck around and do something, go somewhere else. You know, don't leave, you know, your finger tape and plasters and like
that still
shit.
Happens a bit.
Yeah, on the side of the windowsills and
cut your nails and have a wash before class,
all that kind of stuff. So it's always hard because we don't want to seem, you know, authoritarian, but at the same time, like you set a standard and people have to live up to that standard. Otherwise, there's no point of like having the standard in the first place, right?
Yeah.
And the standards are there for a reason. I'd like to think that anytime there's a rule, you know, it's there to show respect. And one of the things that came to mind, actually, just because I can see a picture of Master Carlos Gracie, Senior, is like, especially on the bowing type thing, like, now, obviously in Japan, like a bow is like just like a handshake. It's like you're showing kind of respect. But the thing that hit home for me the most, and it's coming up soon, is the business conference that we're going to at the end of the month. Last year, Victor and Braulio did a really good talk about just like their experience, like coming to the UK in jiu-jitsu. And that's like, for me, the biggest reason, like, I'd do a bow. Because, you know, I talk about their like sacrifice, all the kind of stuff that they went through and being screwed over and taking a big chance, going from sunny Brazil to rainy Birmingham. It's like they could, and Victor got offers, as he talked about, to go run schools, like big schools in California, and he could have just taken that. But if those guys had done that, there wouldn't be like a jiu-jitsu scene here in the UK. Really, it'd just be like, maybe it'd be similar to like where Australia's at, with emerging kind of personalities and or other European countries. Like there's no real jiu-jitsu scene in France right now. There's no real
or Germany.
So you kind of got to, maybe don't, I don't necessarily respect Elio as a person, like for his moral character, or like Carlos Christie Sr. is a bit of a weird guy, but like for their commitment to the sport and the sacrifices they made to make sure that jiu-jitsu could grow into what it grew to, and then we get to do what we do now because of the things that they endured, then I think that is due respect.
Yeah, we're standing on the shoulders of giants.
Yeah.
That's why we did the entranceway, right, this last summer, because we wanted our students to understand the journey that other people have been on to get us to this point. And also that you are part of that lineage and you're part of that journey. It ends with your next class. That is your next chance to try and self-develop and be part of it. And if you turn up with not the right kit or not in the right order or you're late, you're starting your class off in a bad way, right? You could show up on time with all the right kit, great attitude, ready to help someone else. And if you did that, then it's just going to add value to the next person further down the line. And I think we talk about this quite a bit, that we've got the nice thing about our academy is that a lot of the students have started at a similar time. So there's a very, very large peer group pool, and that's a really cool thing. I mean, when I started, we had that. In fact, we had Professor Vince come to see us from Perth, Australia. He sent me a picture after of me and him as purple belts drilling. That was at Roger Gracie's seminar at Victor's when he opened his school. And, we still, hadn't seen him in 7 years, but he can come in and we can hit it off. And we had a really quite broad peer group of blue belts. Ollie Lovewell, Vince, Paxman, all that lot. And you've got that here. But one day you're all going to be black belts and there'll be another generation. So what you do now really makes a difference to them. If we can still keep growing this academy and making it even better and even better, it's going to be better for them. And then you won't be at the end of that lineage, you'll be slightly this way. And you'll keep moving down. And that's so important. I mean, I always look at the legacy photos we have there, and there's 5, and there's only 2 more, then it's me. And then it'll be you. And then it'll be you. And so from the very, very beginning to you, 8 people. That's pretty cool, man. That's pretty cool.
And there's an argument to be made, really. You take Zay Hadioli out there, since, I guess, Master Carl Christie Jr.'s now Victor's professor. Yep. Yeah. Something that I thought was interesting yesterday, I was talking to Ben about coaching, since one of the new coaches, and almost on that, he was saying he knew it was something that he always wanted to do, but he didn't know if there would be a right time. Obviously, he's going through a lot at the moment as well, but he wanted to wait maybe till it's technically better. And I'm like, there's almost a really good benefit of starting it too early than at the right time, which is never going to be, or too late, because whilst you're still in your junior, I see coaching and jiu-jitsu skills a very different, parallel but different skill sets. Mm-hmm. And I think there's a certain humility that you're going to have when you feel like you aren't ready for it. If you wait till you're black belt, you probably already feel pretty confident. I know a bit of jiu-jitsu. You're going to go in with maybe maybe almost overly confident if you've never done any coaching before. And if you go in as a blue belt, you kind of know you don't know anything. So you're going to study really hard. You're going to make sure everything's going to be the best it's going to be. Really going to think about that experience. I think there's a real benefit of being a bit under, knowing that you're not where you need to be right now, because you're going to work so much harder on it. And then you're going to, by the time you are a black belt and you feel now's the time I should be doing coaching. You're going to already have years and years of experience under your belt, ready to go. And I think that's one of the best things about this academy, that right now is, we've talked about it for the last year or so, it's the seed, but it's a seed that I can tell is already going to grow into a really strong tree. A really, you're going to have all those coaches now that, that people might be like, oh, it's a blue belt coaching, but they're actually gaining so much experience that by the time they're purple belts, brown belts, black belts, they're going to be so much better than the people that waited till they were brown belt, black belts to start teaching, because they've just had time in the position, like you were talking about yesterday in jiu-jitsu. Like, you just need that time in the position. So I'm really excited for that too. And one of the other things was on timetable changes, and what I think would be really exciting would be to have, now if you want to take less classes, but also be in more classes in a way, because you could have less set time that you need to be in the academy. But if you're free on a Thursday afternoon and want to come watch me teach and give me some pointers, or if you're free on a Monday morning and maybe Danny's going to teach that class, you can come in and give him some pointers in that class. And then it's like a random little thing. Oh, maybe Professor Mike will be in today, or maybe Coach T is going to drop into my class today, and you're going to get that extra experience, and also the coach gets that extra experience of having someone in there helping them. And
it's just richer, isn't it? I mean, that's the word I try and use. It's just a richer environment for everybody when we have people who commit to the development of others above themselves, and that is what coaching is. Like, you could come and participate in the class, but if you're choosing to coach, you are putting your self-development in jiu-jitsu terms behind the development of others, which is a wonderful thing to do. But to your point, it is a parallel track. They are two separate things. You can be a black belt world champion and an absolutely shit coach, right? Or you can be a blue belt hobbyist and a phenomenal teacher, because you're able to engage, to your point, you're able to manage the class well, you're able to articulate the concepts that you've learned from us in a really nice way, and you're able to adjust your style to the person who is taking the class. And the sooner we can get people on that journey, the better it's going to be. It's as simple as that. It'll just be a richer experience for everybody. And look, let's face it, it is, by coming and standing out the front of the class, you are putting yourself out there to fail, right? Like, you could, if you make a mistake, if I make a mistake teaching, it's a bad feeling, man. People don't expect me to make mistakes. I don't make them very often. But if let's say I'm drilling a technique and it doesn't go according to plan, we're doing the 50-50 from the neon belly escape, and I'm not very good at it, and Mike was at a different angle, it didn't work very well. I hate the feeling. As a blue belt, no one gives a shit, because you knew. So It's that kind of like, don't rush to finish being a white belt thing, because once white belt, there's zero expectation. And as a new coach, there's very little expectation. If you wait till you're black belt, people are going to expect that you know what you're talking about and you can do what you're teaching. And so there becomes a more of a burden then, I think.
Especially, I think, now that there's so much more access to knowledge, and, with the breadth of jiu-jitsu, you might be teaching a class and there's a blue belt student that is like just studying the hell out of that position for some reason, and they might not have more knowledge than you in that position. So like, you really got to, it's a tough job being a coach and putting yourself out there like that. But having that, humility, I think, is a big part of being a coach. Courage, like things like our values that we were talking about. In our meeting with Steve the other week, like humility, courage, like all these things come into not only the values that we do outside of the mats, but also when you coach on the mats. Take a big...
Yeah, no, it's a tough thing, man. I mean, we mentioned their schedule, didn't we? Might be worth just kind of giving a bit of a teaser, I suppose, to some of the things that you can expect to see in the early part of next year. We're not going to put an exact date on it because we need to get a lot of things in place before then. But we're looking at running a GBF again, which is really exciting. Hopefully Sophie will be leading that for us. And that's fantastic. So we're really proud to be doing that again. So again, if you're listening and you've got a female friend or a partner who missed out last time or wanted to come, didn't come, or came last time, didn't sign up and want another run at it, like, just come and do the GBF course again. That's pretty cool. I think we could say quite confidently that people can expect that there will be a class every morning before work.
Yep.
In the early part of next year. So Monday morning class, Friday morning class. One of the reasons we can't do that before and sooner is because it's part of our coaching pathway that we've brought in to ensure that all of our coaches are good enough for our standard, that they have to shadow a number of classes. So they have to shadow 8 classes, I think it is, and then they have to spend at least 8 classes with us, 8 or 10, right? So that's just going to take a bit of time. That's going to take us a few months to get there. But once we've done that, and those coaches we feel and they've passed their ICP and everything else, ready to go, then you can expect classes. So then we'll have a class every morning before work. We'll have
hopefully followed by live training, right?
Hopefully follow everyone. We'd like to have everyone followed by live training. Even bar half fit, like a no-gi live training, then would be pretty cool. Then we'd like a class every lunchtime. We'd like a class every evening. We'd like to be training 7 days a week at some point. And I know you've been putting your study hall classes on as well, so there's additional classes. And we're looking at putting things like on a Tuesday night, a GB1 class on at 6.
Yep.
Moving no-gi to 7. And so basically what we're trying to do there is ensure that regardless of where you are in the program, GB1, GB2, GB3, if you want to do a class on that day, at that time, there is a class available for you. Mm-hmm. At the moment, as you quite rightly noted, T, and I hadn't seen it, if you wanted to train at 6 o'clock on a weeknight, or 7 o'clock on a weeknight, because you finish work at 6 in Leeds and you can't get in, you can only come twice a week as GB1. That ain't good enough. So we're doing loads of things to put that in place. It costs loads of money to do this. It costs a lot of time and effort, but we want to elevate ourselves again to a new level of scheduling within jiu-jitsu in our region, because we're way ahead of everyone already. When we've got that, people are way better. In fact, this was really interesting. So we said this in our team meeting the other day. I hadn't realised, but when you go onto our scheduling page on the website, there's a number of different pages, right? Because there's the main mat, then there's mat number 2, then there's the kids mat.
Yeah.
If you go onto many of the other academies, most of them, if not all of them, they've got one image. Mm-hmm. And that schedule that you're looking at is the kids and the adult classes, not different.
Yeah.
The kids and the adult classes. So you've got to really, look at our schedule and think, wow, I've got the best opportunity to train, and that's all we can provide you. We can provide the opportunity. You've then got to come and do your classes and improve yourself.
I think on that point about like the cost of adding the coaches and the time and stuff, like especially because anyone could just stick a person in a class, but to do it right, there's that thing like in the military again. It's like that 2 is 1, 1 is none. Like you can't just throw someone in, because if that person then like doesn't want to be there all of a sudden, or they want to go on holiday, it's not like we hold ourselves to a certain standard. We can't just be like, oh, the class is cancelled now. Like we're not doing it anymore. Like
we never cancel classes apart from bank holidays and stuff.
Yeah, so it's like if we say we're gonna do a class Monday morning, we have to make sure that coach is like committed to be doing it. Like they're reliable. And if they do need and as everyone will at some point to go on holiday or they're sick, that someone else is available at that time to be able to cover, because we can't just have it as that one point of failure ever. So it is quite difficult to get a slot filled. It's not just a case of I'm free then I'll just jump in, because more thought and more preparation goes into it than that.
Yeah. Running alongside it, I think it's only fair to say, we talked about values there. So as we said last time, we're working with an external coach, a business coach, who's a friend of mine. He's a level 9 coach, business owner in his own right, founder, phenomenal guy, Steve Baxter. In fact, Steve was here helping us paint that door before we opened up. So he's been here from the beginning, and we've contracted him in for 6 months to help develop our business and each of us individually within the inner circle, which is phenomenal. One of the things we're going to have to do next year, and it's only right we say this because one of our values is integrity, is that we're going to have to look to raise our prices, right? So, we don't want to wait too long before we start talking about that. I think it's fair to say that we're not ready to launch that because we don't know exactly what the price point is. We know we're undervalued, 100% we're undervalued. If you compare us to any of the academies that offer what we offer elsewhere in the country, we tend to be cheaper. We are the most expensive in our region, but we are the best in our region. And it's not a price conversation, it's a value conversation in my mind. So we've got to do a little bit of work to get that right. one thing we could work harder on, which I want to bring in, is a better discounting for family members. So at the moment, each extra person in your family will get 5% off. We want to lift that discount for you guys. So if you've got 3-4 kids in the program and you come train, as we have some of our students, you should be benefiting from a greater discount rate, I think. And that will encourage more people in families to come train together and everything else, back to your point about study hall and stuff. So it's a big piece of work for us to get right. So we can't launch it right now, but it's worth saying that in the early part of next year, not in January, we've committed not to do that because of Christmas and everything else. In the early part of next year, you can expect to see a slight price increase. I mean, we haven't raised our prices for about 2 years.
Yeah.
And we did that purposely because we wanted to support everybody in the cost of living crisis that we've been going through. But we've been absorbing greater costs in every single other area. So we can't sustain that. And hopefully, a couple of pound extra a week or whatever it's going to be is a small price to pay for all those new classes, all those new coaches, all those new events, fireworks night coming up, everything else. And it's just the next level. So yeah, you can expect that in the early part of 2024.
And you'll get plenty of notice about it.
At least 3 months.
Yeah. So that's good. It's not like either of us have talked about we're going to do a price increase and then just bump everyone's your wages up. It's just, so it's like it's things that we can again just like reinvest back into making this even better, as we've talked about a lot. Doing reception, and then we talked about maybe just doing it a room at a time where we can just make we're getting like some new furnishings in the recovery room. We're getting like there's new stuff going on all the time. There's new. I made a bit of a post about it on Instagram the other day, getting the new books in. Like we've probably spent about at least £100 on books the other couple of months. So there's always new things we're trying to make. I'm always thinking about ways, because I bring a new idea every week, feeling like, Mike, can we spend some money on it? So yeah, rest assured, like everything that you put in, we try to put back. Yeah.
I mean, we did the female change room last time. They made that like phenomenal. That is a lovely place to be. Hair dryers and sanitary products and a green wall and like you ain't gonna get that anywhere else, and a shower and everything else. The guys' changing room is probably something that we should be looking at. We could probably do with retiling that, redoing the windows, double glazing them. So there's lots we can do. The one thing I just want to point out before we go about the potential price increase is that one thing we are looking to do as part of that is to offer an opportunity to train in the Real Group rather than having that as a separate membership.
Yeah.
So if you currently are paying a full price membership and a Real Group top up, then you will actually save money when we do this, I think.
Yeah.
So we want to give that as an opportunity for people, because there'll be other people as well who train elsewhere, and maybe they love that, it's great. Maybe some people have to train elsewhere because they don't want to train here. We're going to give you the opportunity to do that, to recover better, to stay healthy, use the iron neck, get your ligaments strong, your joints, your muscles, so you can do jiu-jitsu for as long as possible.
And just on that as well, Professor Lewis made a good point. I want to nip it in the bud before anyone tries to nail us on it. Is an argument could be made that it's like, oh, they're doing a price increase and they're just giving me the Reog room for free, but I don't even want the Reog room, so I'm just paying extra for something I don't use. That's not it at all. It's up in the air whether we're going to give the Reog room.
No, the price increase is happening.
Yeah, it's either happening. You are getting the price increase because of the extra value we've given in terms of all the classes, the facilities improvements, that kind of thing. The Reog room would just be a bonus on top. Like, the price increase, the amount we put it to has zero impact on whether we do give you the Reog room or not. So it would just be it's
more of a value add, isn't it? It's more like we've been talking about trying to make your experience more holistic in jiu-jitsu. So we talk about it not just being about jiu-jitsu, it's about you on and off the mat. Well, having a strong body and a body that equipped to be able to withstand the rigors of jiu-jitsu is important. And it's really just a value add, and it's helping people develop in a different way. Maybe you want to train more often, so you're going to grab an ice bath a couple of times a week to recover better, or a sauna. Like, you should be able to we want you to be able to do that. So yeah, super exciting. Loads of new things come in, and we better go because I need a wee.
And we need to film some videos.
Yeah, we do. Lots to do.
Okay, thanks team. Until next time.
Us.